this Thursday of August 2023, and I'm hoping that you had a beautiful night. And if you didn't have a beautiful night, we can try again today, right? Every single day is a fresh day to have a fresh start, have a good sleep at the end of that day, and of course have fresh plans for the day and of course for the rest of the week. I'm hoping that my colleagues here are also having a beautiful morning, a shiny morning. Obviously Chirabo is having a good time. Why not? He is the man that drinks his milk in the morning, and of course that milk has some coffee in it. Good morning, Chirabo.
Oh, good morning. How are you?
I'm lovely.
I can see it on your face. You must have had a lovely night. And I just, even before the camera gets to any of the members, they all look so fantastic, so energetic.
I know.
Well, every morning we are here to spice up your mornings. But first, don't forget to have a cup of Ugandan coffee and of course Ugandan milk, because we need to promote local consumption of these two. I'm fine. I'm enjoying my cup of coffee. And definitely we are here to ensure that we inform you of all that you need to know so that you fit in any reasonable discussion. You know, Olive,
yeah.
It's funny when people are talking and for you just have to listen.
Yes.
Because you have no idea. We are talking about enhanced number plates.
Okay.
Updates. For you, you know nothing. We're talking about food poisoning, not food poisoned. You know nothing. Yes. And many others. But when you start your day with us, talk about, even if it's something that happened in the US, we give you that information. So, well, just don't go anywhere.
That's
we are
right.
here for that.
Yeah, that's right. We are here to give you information to start your day. And like Chirabo said, we are here to ensure that when people are having conversations about key issues that happened in and around the country, and of course on the African continent and outside the continent, you have an idea so that you do not stand out as someone that doesn't know anything. And speaking of which, I know that Chantal always knows something. But first of all, how was your night? And you're right to work this morning.
I did have a wonderful night. I'm hoping that also the viewer out there had a wonderful night. And like you said, if you did not, we are trying again tonight.
Yeah.
You just have a few more hours for the night to come and you can try again. But a very good morning to you, dearest viewers. Thank you for tuning in and for being with us this morning. We are very, very glad that we get to share our mornings with you and of course share great information. I had a wonderful night and I moved smoothly, especially because moving early morning is better. The roads are not congested.
That's
I can assure you.
very true. I enjoy driving in the morning because most times there are sections on the road where I'm just alone, and that is breathtaking, because driving on Uganda's roads is mentally tasking. You're driving, you're trying to dodge a pothole, and then a border is bypassing. It is too much work. So riding or driving in the morning, of course, I'm speaking about riding because Chirabo is a biker and he rides to work every single morning. I wonder how Sonko gets to work. Meanwhile, Sonko is very smart. Hey, he looks like he's going for a wedding.
Hey. Good morning, team. Good morning, Uganda as well. Many thanks for joining us every single Monday to Friday to always kickstart off your morning with us. Like Chirabo mentioned, by the way, you always have to be ahead of the rest. You know, when you start up your morning, when you have more information than other people, even if you're a border guy and you go to your stage, information, you have that information to give out to the rest.
You are the guy.
You're the main guy there. So if you want to get the information, of course, you will have to start with us that morning, because we give you the updates, both local and international, and truly to inspire your day. If I am to put it in that way. But I think I'll start picking a leaf from Chirabo in regards to taking a couple of coffee every morning.
Yeah.
It does look very tasty from,
and Chirabo
from my
looks
side.
very healthy. It looks like someone who takes milk every morning. We will add blue band. But anyway, every morning here on Good Morning Uganda, we share so many insights into the stories that occurred the previous day, and of course in the hours before we come onto the air. and my friends usually have many stories that they would like to share with you, and this morning is not going to be different. I will go to Sonko to tell us some of the stories that he has heard and sees that it's important that you, our viewer, also gets to know about them.
Well, mine, what has caught my attention in the last 12 hours has been the fact that since Ugandans have turned their way from banking halls, and now their interest is into agent banking, because we've come to realize agent banks have actually got more numbers than initially when they were just starting. You get to realize that the numbers of agent banking has actually increased to 3.6%. This is because of the money that has been transacted increasing from 4.7 trillion Ugandan shillings to 6.8 trillion Ugandan shillings. That is between January 2023 to July 2023. So that shows you how most of the Ugandans are turning away from going to the banking halls, to queue up to deposit or withdraw money, but now most of them feel comfortable using the agent banking, and others even feel it's more secure using mobile money. I don't know which options you people use when it comes to your banking and managing finances.
I like to talk about or think about convenience, and best believe an agent banker is actually going to do a better job when it comes to convenience. One, the line is not too long because they are scattered everywhere, and they have a bunch of options. So I'm going to go to this agent, and in probably 10 minutes I'll be done with my transaction. Different from when I go to this bank and I have to line up and spend about 30 to 40 minutes in that bank.
Which banks do you people go to? Because in my bank, I never line up. I go, sit pretty, and I'm served, and in a few minutes I'm done. So I need to find out which microfinance.
Depends on the day, even the branch that you go to. But best believe, in most banks, you're going to have issues where you have to wait.
And agent banks even open till 8 p.m. by the most of them.
9 p.m.
Yeah, so that clearly gives you room to do other things during the day, and in the night you go out and do your banking, services.
Anyway, e-commerce is the way to go. Honestly speaking, when it comes to banking, lately, banking using your phone or your computer is the way to go. Actually, in most banks, they make sure that there is a high levy. For instance, if you're withdrawing money over the counter, you will find that at the ATM, they're going to charge you maybe 800 shillings, and over the counter, they're going to charge you about 11,000 shillings, because they're trying to stop you from withdrawing money over the counter. They want you to embrace e-banking, and it works for you, but of course some Ugandans are still in analog, so we need to have mindset change when it comes to that. And as for me, yesterday the story I had, and I was like, this story has been making news all through the month of July, and here we are in August, and FDC still stands out. Now the latest members of parliament in the FDC party apparently wrote to the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, and asked her to halt Nathan Nandala Mafabi's decision to strike out the party's chief whip in Parliament, that is the Chira Municipality Member of Parliament, Ibrahim Semjunganda, replacing him with Yusuf Nsibambi. Now the Speaker reiterated by saying, you know what, resolve the issues in your party and then come back to me. For now, I don't recognize Nsibambi as the party's whip. Well, FDC still continues to be intriguing and making headlines. I don't know what Chirabo has to say about that.
There is something interesting about that story. Semujunganda and the Honorable Prime Minister have been good friends to some level in Parliament. Now, when
good friends, you say?
Sibambi,
good friends.
With the Right Honorable Speaker.
Okay.
Now, when Sibambi was appointed, the Right Honorable Prime Minister came to the floor very excited and happy, and first congratulated Sibambi upon being appointed as FDC party whip. Then also encouraged Nanda Mafabi, telling him, well, all is going to be okay. We know that party will get back. But barely a fortnight, then the Speaker comes up with a document dismissing the appointment of Semuju, because according to the Speaker and other legal brains, Nandana Mafabi alone has no power to appoint.
Yes, apparently he didn't follow
or fire.
internal party
So there are about
structures.
3 organs that must do that. But still, one interesting story. Yesterday, the Parliamentary Committee on Infrastructure had a tour on a number of car bonds to see how far we've gone as far as plans to have enhanced number plates on our vehicles, which some people mistakenly call digital number plates. These are not digital number plates. These are just number plates with enhanced features. So they visited a number of bonds, and the company had assured them that they have set up quite a number of infrastructure that is, and they have trained personnel that are going to put on these number plates on the vehicles. Guess what they found? Empty tents.
Empty tents.
Empty tents. These bonds had something like a tent and about 2-3 people there. So what interested me most, they asked one of the young men there that is believed are going to be installing these number plates, because we're supposed to have them July 1st, we extended to November. Now they asked him, but have you ever seen these number plates anywhere? Because there are people who are going to be, no. And he looks totally green, amazed, not understanding what is going on. And I liked the wrath of members of parliament when they were lashing out at some of the people. I saw my good friend Winston of the licensing board, and they were like, but you people, you call, what do you have in place? Did we waste our time to come and look at empty tents? Empty tents. So I think so much has to be done if we are to hit the November date that we have set, or otherwise this, like many members of parliament said, that may be another scam to fleece Ugandans of their monies and yet end at nothing. Though its reasons why you have them are so good, security reasons, and we need to fight crime. Found that very interesting for me.
Well, it boggles one's mind. First of all, this is something that has been in the news, and we have had people from the Ministry of Works having conversations about the same, and all the necessary authorities. So how do members of parliament get there and their empty tents? Like, people were not ready. They didn't even have the respect to be ready when these members of parliament came in. That is really sad. But
Really
Chantal,
sad, honestly, because when you mention about how we tend to, deliberately distance ourselves from the, the political sphere of the country, that is also something that is worrying for us as a country as well. And it's not even about even the members of parliament at times. It even goes back to the Ugandans themselves. You do realize at times most people tend not to focus on the political space of the country, more so political conversations or discussions. And in the long run, it does affect us when it comes to the policies that are being aligned, and also looking at some of the members of parliament, especially those from the opposition, who also, shun away from some of the government, government events and the like.
yeah, that is our Uganda, and I hate it when people say that is Uganda for you. It has connotations of giving up. It has connotations of we have accepted our fate. We have accepted that we are mediocre, and we are not. We are smart people. We are hardworking people. So we should not even be saying things like, that is Uganda for you. But honestly, if you know that you're supposed to do something, do it. You're making us all look bad. And we don't have to be bad. We are not bad. We shouldn't look bad. Chantal, this morning, what do you have to share with us?
I landed on a story that really caught my attention. The Mukono land offices being closed temporarily, and the major reason cited was forgery
of documents.
Yes.
Wow.
Now apparently the officers in this office were not using the system they were supposed to use. They decided to stay analog, and that meant they were using documents they were not supposed to use, using back end or backdoor systems, and this prompted the State Minister of Lands, that is Sam Mayanja, to come in and temporarily close the office and put the Mukono Lands boss off and tell her, listen, until the investigations are done, this office you can't be here.
I think it even takes us back to the conversation we had yesterday in relation to the digital transformation. As the digital transformation roadmap is being launched today, I think that those are some of the offices that really need to be tracked high.
Yes, this is where we need to look at automation of the system. This is where we need to look at someone that has to, if I need to search for something or do something, there has to be a system that has to be followed and easy to monitor.
True.
Well, right now, when you go to most of these, especially government offices, there is still a lot of paperwork that is done, and that is what we need to get rid of.
And you see, the good thing with the digitalization or e-government system is it reduces person-to-person contact, where you can go for corruption. When things are done digitally, there is no contact, so it limits corruption. But also, we need to do some lifestyle audit. You people, you look at someone who works in a land office, how much do they get? When you equate people's salaries, the houses they are having, you know, the cars they are driving, lifestyle audit, Honorable Betty Kamya, I think will help us nab a number of people.
Well,
she
she
once
mentioned
suggested.
it.
People damn rich, and when you compare, how much do you earn?
Yes.
You have a palace, you know, something similar to State House. How much do you earn? You're driving a car of 500 million.
I know. I saw the
What do they
houses
match?
you see, and you're like, do we live in the same Uganda?
What you
Because-
earn, what you have,
Yes.
where do they match?
Well, how do they amass this wealth in a very short time? And you know, Ugandans, especially on social media, usually ask these questions. They see the lifestyle, let's say, of a member of parliament, the house, the locality where that house is, the cars, the parties they throw. And at the end of the day, we say we need to have budget cuts. We cannot afford this. There are kids in some schools that do not have desks, and you're like, but the people that represent us, how come? Because we all know how much they earn, right? And sometimes you wonder, how come they live this kind of lifestyle? So for me, when the IGG suggested a lifestyle audit, I was all for it, and I hope she can start, she and her office can start doing that, because something is not adding up. And as Ugandans, we need to know what is not adding up.
President Museveni said, if you're to take that route, you're going to scare these people, and they're going to stop investing in the country and start investing elsewhere.
We will cross that bridge when
There
we
was
reach it.
also a statement that goes. There's a statement that goes by. Corruption is only bad when you're not benefiting from it. That
So
at times even born-again Christians call it grace once they start benefiting of it. In a nutshell,
Which
you know,
Christians are those?
in a nutshell, I should say
Those are not born
that
again,
at
those are
times
masqueraders.
we have people who normally, you know, bash the government due to corruption, but in the long run, once they start benefiting of it, they will stop.
They go silent.
You know, they go silent. So I think we
Especially
need to
opposition
focus on the
members of
But it's
integrity.
just
Parliament that
normal.
crossed.
To get angle, yeah, it is just simple.
You get. So we really need to, you know, to push for integrity, I think.
Yeah.
If we are to look at people who work for government offices, really, and that way, maybe we shall not be having all these cases coming up.
Okay. And speaking of cases, these are not cases, but news stories that we have managed to gather for you this morning, both on the local and international scene.
Well, we'll begin with fire at Katuna border, where business at Katuna border went to a halt as a truck registration number UAS 983V caught fire, burning to ashes. It is believed that the same truck had been at the border for days due to mechanical problems, and when the driver ignited the engine, it burst into flames. Well, as the truck was burning, locals were seen offloading and looting maize belonging to World Food Program. It is believed that the maize was heading to Rwanda. No death was registered as fire brigade came through to put off the fire.
And moving on, government of Uganda through the office of the Prime Minister will embark on a nationwide farmers mobilization campaign targeting revitalization of Uganda's agricultural sector. This countrywide agricultural campaign, slated to begin this Friday, 18th August 2023 in Greater Mubende and rolled out countrywide, will bring together all government ministries and agricultural stakeholders to the grassroots where farming begins.
And moving on, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Amongi, has objected to the move by Forum for Democratic Change Party to replace Ibrahim Semuju Nganda with Yusuf Nsibambi for FDC party whip in the 11th Parliament. Recently, the Secretary General for FDC, Nandala Mafabi, wrote to the Speaker of Parliament of the decision to make changes in FDC whip position. Speaker acted after a petition by 9 members of FDC who assert that Nandala Mafabi made individual decisions outside the FDC National Executive Committee. Speaker Amongi wants the FDC to harmonize on the internal process of electing a party group.
And in other stories, the members of the Committee on Physical Infrastructure from Parliament and the Ministry of Works and Transport carried out an inspection on the intelligent transport monitoring systems and the fitting centres within the Kampala bonds. However, the chairperson of the committee, Dan Kimosho, questioned the findings on arrival at these bonds, having found empty tents with no equipment, only to be called fitment centres. And we will be crossing into the international news, starting with North Korea and the US soldier. North Korea has claimed that a United States soldier who crossed the border last month did so because he was seeking refugee from inhuman maltreatment and racial discrimination in the US. The comments published in the state media on Wednesday are Pyongyang's first public statement on Travis King, who crossed from South Korea into North Korea on July 18th while on a tourist tour of the Joint Security Area. Right about now, we will have a look at some of the stories in the newspapers.
Well, of course, with the Daily Monitor this morning, we have President Museveni ordering swamps drained of fishy investors. That is at the front page of the Daily Monitor in today's edition. As not enough, the environmentalists, however, say that the presidential orders have to be backed by the actual follow-through action as well. Then the FDC saga takes a different twist. Speaker Among says no to Mafabi sacking of Semuju. Now in the DM today, signs Yoka needs an oil change. The Daily Monitor gives you another report of that. And then in the other news, court puts an end to illegal eviction of Bibanja holders as government fails to recover 130 billion youth funds. There is also a report regarding the fate of ex-Mulago Hospital boss, which is hanging in the balance. The Daily Monitor is giving you more of that this morning.
And with me is a copy of the New Vision. So much happening. MOVE has received a blessing from the Attorney General and the finance response to proposed NSSF Act amendment. And then also, if you are interested in tenders, you're going to find them in today's copy of the New Vision. Mohozi Teso elders Lord visit, and youth failed to pay 129 billion shillings government loans, and Museveni meets solar investors. Also, narrow queried over 18 billion Uganda shillings because of ghost staff. And in a series, Kasuja, the Pope's eye and ears. And that is in today's copy of the New Vision. So please grab yourself one. But also at the back, we are seeing our star, that is Cheptegei. And he says he wants to give himself a new challenge. And that is, he is transitioning to marathon after the Worlds. That and so much more in today's copy of the New Vision. Please do grab yourself one to get the details.
And we still have more stories for you in the international news. Now, thousands of Muslims in a city in Pakistan have set fire to churches and vandalized homes belonging to Christians over claims that 2 men had desecrated the Quran, police say. The attacks took place in Jaranara in the province of Eastern Punjab. Police said at least 4 churches had been set on fire, while residents said up to a dozen buildings connected to churches had been damaged. Blasphemy is punishable by death in Pakistan. No one has ever been executed for it, but dozens have previously been killed by mobs after being accused of the crime. The Muslim community is believed to make up over 96% of Pakistan's population. And moving on, surgeons in the United States have announced that a pig kidney they transplanted into the body of a brain-dead human patient has functioned normally for more than a month, a promising sign in the effort to address widespread organ donation needs. Surgeons at the New York University Langone Transplant Institute said on Wednesday that the milestone is the longest a pig kidney had functioned in a person, albeit a deceased one. We have a genetically edited pig kidney surviving for over a month in a human, Institute Director Robert Montgomery told reporters. And coming back to Africa, more than 60 people are feared dead after a boat carrying migrants was found off Cape Verde in West Africa. 38 people, including children, were rescued with footage showing them being held ashore, some on stretchers on the island of Sal. Almost all those on board the boat, which was at sea for over a month, are thought to have been from Senegal. Cape Verde officials have called for a global action on migration to help prevent further loss of life. The vessel was first spotted on Monday, police told the AFP news agency. Initial reports suggested the boat had sunk, but it was later clarified that it had been found drifting. And lastly, Lagos State Government will build an 18-kilometer embankment and seawalls to protect over 2 million people. Of this number, 700,000 are vulnerable people, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has said. This forms part of the 38 projects earmarked to mitigate effects of climate change. Governor Sanwo-Olu spoke yesterday at the opening of the 10th annual summit of the Association of Lagos State Retired Heads of Service and Permanent Secretaries at the Yemi Bero Auditorium in Alausa, Ikeja. The theme of the two-day summit is climate change, man, nature and threat to life, Lagos State case study. The governor, represented by Deputy Governor Obafemi Hamzat, restated Lagos's status as a dynamic and vibrant hub, a littoral state which faces unique challenges when it comes to climate change. Wow. Yeah, Robert, what are you saying?
I'm just imagining if this science sees the light of day,
Yeah.
and a Muslim is having a kidney of a pig, but alive.
Oh God, I didn't see that coming.
Organ transplant. This thing sees the light of day.
Okay, here's my 2 cents.
Or do they reject it?
At the end of the day, there is no one person, except if they're a fanatic, because fanatics are extreme. Everything they do is in extremes. Those are the people that set themselves on fire. But if you're just a believer and a kidney of a pig can be implanted or transplanted into your brain and give you a chance at life, then why not?
Astaghfirullah.
No, at the end of the day, it is what goes into your mouth, right? According to Muslims, and this one will be in your brain, so you'll be okay. My 2 cents. Anyway, we'll take a short break and we will leave you with the inspiration song of the day. Good morning, Uganda. This is Good Morning Uganda live from the studios of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation here at Nile Avenue. My name is Olive Monica Najuma and I am joined by the fantastic three. That is Chantal Olive Akandinda, Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono and Jerome Paul Sonko. I'm hoping that you're having a beautiful morning this Thursday of August 2023, and I'm hoping that you had a beautiful night. And if you didn't have a beautiful night, we can try again today, right? Every single day is a fresh day to have a fresh start, have a good sleep at the end of that day, and of course have fresh plans for the day and of course for the rest of the week. I'm hoping that my colleagues here are also having a beautiful morning, a shiny morning. Obviously Chirabo is having a good time. Why not? He is the man that drinks his milk in the morning, and of course that milk has some coffee in it. Good morning, Chirabo.
Oh, good morning. How are you?
I'm lovely.
I can see it on your face. You must have had a lovely night. And I just, even before the camera gets to any of the members, they all look so fantastic, so energetic.
I know.
Well, every morning we are here to spice up your mornings. But first, don't forget to have a cup of Ugandan coffee and of course Ugandan milk, because we need to promote local consumption of these two. I am fine, I'm enjoying my cup of coffee, and definitely we are here to ensure that we inform you of all that you need to know so that you fit in any reasonable discussion. You know, Olive,
yeah.
It's funny when people are talking and for you just have to listen.
Yes.
Because you have no idea. We are talking about enhanced number plates.
Okay.
Updates for you, you know nothing. We're talking about food poisoning, not food poisoned, you know nothing. Yes. And many others. But when you start your day with us,
and of course, good morning, Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and I am joined by Jerome Paul Sonko and of course Chantal Olive Akandinda. And this is the hour of the newsreel. Time check is 3 minutes past 7 o'clock in the morning. If you've just joined us, thank you so much. This is the hour of the newsreel, like I said. Now, I know that probably some of you heard about a story where students of Nakanyonyi Secondary School were allegedly poisoned at school. Now, the number of students started from 150 but kept going up and up after they ate food at school, and according to media stories, they were allegedly poisoned. But now there has been an investigation by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards, and they have found that the students were actually not poisoned, but food poisoned. This is there is a difference. Food poisoning means that the food was not safely kept, that the food was maybe the vessels that are used to keep the food were dirty, and according to the police, an investigation into suspected food poisoning at Nakanyonyi Secondary School in Mukono District has revealed that the food was contaminated. According to Kampala Metropolitan Police spokesperson Patrick Onyango, the incident in which more than 150 students were hospitalized was a result of food poisoning and not consuming poisoned food, as earlier reported by the media. And he says that a report from the Uganda National Bureau of Standards, UNBS, shows that there was poor hygiene in the food store at the school. Now, if you are joining us just around now, we would like for you to be a part of this conversation, and the question we are asking, actually, we are asking you to share your thoughts on the best effective practices to ensure our children stay safe and healthy in school. Again, kindly share your opinions on the best effective practices to ensure our children stay safe and healthy in school. You can reach us through WhatsApp. The number is 0709 602 592. Again, the number is 0709 602 592. And if you want to join us through Twitter, the hashtag is UBCGMU. Now, here is where we start the conversation. All of us have been in school, Chantal, Sonko, myself, and we used to eat posho and beans. The students of Nakanyonyi SS had this situation after they ate posho and beans. I'm not saying other foods are not there, because lately schools are actually serving rice, they are serving sometimes meat, yeah. But anything that has to do with food, yes? What were your experiences with food at school?
I will start with the safety for me.
Okay.
How food was actually being kept.
Okay.
When you've mentioned the vessels under which food is kept, at times it is where the problems start from. And normally, there are actually some means that the cooks at schools use, for example, to try to conserve the beans, for example, because at times you find that there are beans that are prepared. This is from personal experience, because we've all been through I don't know if you've been through boarding school.
I was in
boarding from primary 2 to senior 2. So I think I have some experience really in there. But I've come to realize that when it comes to contamination, it starts with preservation of this particular food. At times these beans are prepared for 2 days. So they prepare beans on Monday, but they will still be used even on Tuesday.
And because these are massive numbers,
Yes.
I highly doubt that a school would have a freezer big enough to safekeep these beans.
Operation costs become higher. So that means you only have to, to just keep them onto the cooking stove. That is the cooking ovens within the local cooking stoves in the school kitchens.
But of
that always fired up with firewood.
Maybe yours was always fired up. I remember mine when we were, let's say, done with eating dinner. And dinner in high school, even primary school, is served at around 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. And then the fire is out until the next morning. Now, if you're telling me that, like in your school and even in some other schools, I believe, that beans are cooked a day before, children eat some, and the balance that remains, the leftovers, are kept. Now, because there is no freezer, because when we go back to primary school science of safekeeping food, how do we preserve, let's say, food, let's say fish? By smoking it, by freezing it. Now,
Sun-drying.
Yes, salting. Now, if the school is not doing that and they have cooked enough for 2 days, that's a problem.
Yeah,
but Chantal, please share your experience with food at school.
With food at school, one of my worst experiences was the fact that sometimes the food would have those insects. The
weevils.
The weevils, thank you.
Kaukumi.
That's the word I was looking for, kaukumi. And the issue I have personally, if I see, even if it's a small insect in food, I'll not eat it. And the other issue I found with school, sometimes with the food, was that at some point, it smelled like kerosene or paraffin. And apparently the reason they would give would be they've put kerosene actually to control the libido of the students in the school. However, according to my knowledge right now, that is a preservative.
For the beans.
Yes, and if you're to look at the patterns, that paraffin or kerosene or chemical would actually be, you would start feeling it mid-term close to the end. Now that it makes sense that that chemical was put in there as a preservative, because the beans would have spent a long time in the store, and maybe it's starting to get the weevils, and now they're trying to see how they control that.
Yes.
But the question here is, it could be a preservative, but is it safe for consumption? I mean the kerosene.
Apparently, kerosene is safe for consumption if it's cooked the way they would put it in the beans and the posho. Now the weird thing is, even if you want to dodge eating the beans because you would think they put in the beans, even the posho itself would smell like kerosene. So you either eat or you don't eat, or you go to the canteen and buy something else. And I found that very challenging, because even just on the normal, the smell of kerosene or even just any other fuel, you will be disturbed already. And you're feeding someone's kids on chemicals. Even if they're safe for consumption, are you aware that even all the food that is, say, packaged and processed and it's believed to be safe for consumption, too much consumption of those chemicals will have an effect on you. Yes, even the medicine that you take, for example, you go to the doctor and they prescribe medicine. If you overconsume, if you take an overdose, for example, if you overconsume, you're going to reach a point and your body is going to react. The liver itself is going to have an issue with that medicine. So I'm now imagining what is happening with this preservative and this chemical. Apparently it's good, it's safe for consumption, but who knows? In what? It leaves a lot to be desired. Would need to have a conversation with someone in, someone that has done food science to explain more on this, because I'm actually learning this this very morning. But they say every day we have another chance to learn. But now, speaking of experiences in schools, I also remember the first school I went to, food was nice. It was a government school, actually a school by the UPDF, and I always say this school was the best when it came to feeding. Our food was okay. The beans were always okay. People could have second helpings. We used to be given bread and milk and eggs in a UPDF school. So yeah, the government, when it comes to that, they did well. But then later on, I went to another school, and what I realized, a private institution. And of course, the portions were smaller, but we are not talking about portions today. It was the food. And like Chantal's experience, there was always a time, especially towards the end of the term, where the beans would smell bad, where the beans had weevils, and even the posho. Sometimes you're trying to eat your posho. First of all, it's not well made, and then it has some kind of weevils into it. And of course, some students would decide not to eat. Others would eat, and then we would have some stomach complications. But obviously, we never knew that it all started with the food that we were eating. But now, the big question here is, what is leading to this continuous laxity when it comes to food safety in our schools?
Well, let me even share this very simple experience during my childhood. Normally, when the holidays were done and my mom picks me up from school, there was always a statement she made, Ntinga, you look malnourished. That statement was, you get. But then we could eat. And I was a typical double dealer in primary.
Oh, wow. That's what you call yourself.
When you, so when you look at that, I think it's after growing up when I realized that at times schools never pay attention to the type of food students consume or pupils consume while at school.
But why are they doing that? Why are they lax when it comes to food safety?
And I think it also goes back to the payment structure of the cooks. Because, you know, there are scenarios that you may fail to even explain at times. Because with the school administration, at times you realize most of the administrators are more focused on the education of the children. That is why you find teachers having a different meal. There are actually schools where teachers have fried beans or beans with lots of ingredients in them, and then for the children it's completely boiled. And when you ask, you'll say it is healthy for them.
Wow.
And at the end of it all, you realize that their main focus...
So teachers want to be unhealthy?
I want to believe so.
I would love to bring your minds to something that I have found very common with parents, and that is when you walk into a school or when someone recommends a school for you to take your child, the first thing you're going to think about is, how does the school look? How do the blocks look like? You understand? Then after seeing how the blocks look like, then you're going to look at, how do the dormitories look like? How many parents when they go for those meetings at school, actually feel like, can we, especially those on the committee, the PTA committee, do they even go to check the stores where this food is kept? I'm tasking someone out there right now.
Schools are very tactical when it comes to that. Why I say tactical, during PTA meetings, they normally prepare
very good meals, yes.
Or they even bring in outside catering for such services,
Very
so that
true.
they, they have that image before the parents, or they keep a good image before the parents, that they provide good meals for their children. And remember, for primary children, for example, or even secondary, once you prepare a meal of that nature once in a while,
the kid is going to be hoodwinked into feeling like,
so they won't even mind
okay.
about the bad meals they've actually been experiencing. So they've already been put into a mindset that once in a while you have some good food, and then you go back to the ordinary.
So basically they're teaching children survival instincts. Yeah, and actually I remember most of us growing up, we used to hate food. We used to hate the meal of posho and beans, but now as an adult I realize we didn't hate it because it is bad food.
But
we hated it because, first of all, of the way it was kept.
Yes.
If you were served beans that had weevils in them, you're going to hate beans for the rest of your life. And of course, posho. And then, of course, the way it is prepared. Now, if it is smelling like kerosene, you're not going to. That is a traumatic experience that someone may never go away from. But still, on the issue of laxity, what do we think the Ministry of Education and Sports can do to avert this, because it is the superintendent of schools, and if schools are not doing right in terms of food safety, what is the Ministry of Education and Sports supposed to do so that these incidents don't happen again?
Takes me back to the same thing I was telling you. Very many times, for the little time I saw the inspectors come to school, they checked the dormitories to see how we were sleeping, checked the toilets, and that day they would be clean, by the way, checked the toilets to see how clean they are, and of course the space in there, is there toilet paper, is there water, blah blah blah, checked the classes, yeah, but I never heard of, because I was a prefect almost through school, and we never heard of they are going to check the stores, so make sure, because whenever we would know they're coming, the dormitories had to be cleaned, the bathrooms and toilets had to be cleaned. But I never heard of a point where they would say, we're checking the stores where you are keeping your food. I never heard about it, and if it happened in a very subtle way. Very, very subtle way. So you realize that even the ministry now has to come out and put it into, put it on the priority list of where do they keep this food. The honest truth is, when you go to some of these schools, food is supposed to be kept, especially now the what is it called, the dry food, the likes of rice, the likes of posho, they're supposed to be kept in an environment that has less moisture. But when you go to these schools, you're going to find these sacks, they don't put pallets down. You're going to find these sacks on either the floor that has cement or concrete. Most of those stores, it's either cement or concrete. Now, the mixture of cement and the posho, at some point even the posho will grow some moth, because it gets cold at a certain point. That is why pallets would be important. When you go to these other stores that really mind, I'm talking about stores, you'll find pallets where they keep this dry food. It's supposed to be in a cool environment, dry environment, but that's not the environment where it's kept. If you put a sack of rice or sack of posho on cement, at night, for example, it's going to sweat. We all know cement sweats,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
For lack of a better way to put it, it sweats. So now, tell me that food is going to be safe. Tell me those beans are going to be safe. You understand? So if ministry can also look out for those elements, it would actually help to know that, okay, when they are constructing a school, it's not going to be just about the beautiful blocks and the good food served once in a while that is actually bought in fresh on Friday when it's going to be eaten on like Saturday or Sunday. It's going to have to check, where do you keep your food? How is it kept? And who are the suppliers of this food? At some point, even those who are exporting, say for example maize, it had aflatoxins.
Yes.
So how sure are you that the maize that was rejected the other side is not brought to these schools? So we need to check the suppliers of these foods, we need to check where the food is kept.
Also, in this instance, it was found that the other food products the school had, like sugar, had the UNBS seal,
Stamps, yes.
but then the posho, the rice, did not have the seal, meaning the school had a supplier that probably isn't registered or known by the by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. So they were just buying their rice and feeding it to the children. And you could find that this could have been a contributing factor to the food poisoning of more than 150 students. But please, I encourage you to join this conversation and share your thoughts on the best effective practices to ensure our children stay safe and healthy at school. You can reach us on WhatsApp number 0709602592, and of course the poll question is: share your thoughts on the best effective practices to ensure our children stay safe and healthy at school. I have a few comments on WhatsApp, and this person didn't leave a name, but he says it's normally poor storage which results into a condition known as aflatoxcosis, which is characterized by nausea, abdominal pain, vomiting, convulsions, at times acute liver injury. Now, if we are going to talk about something to do with liver injury, we know that if your liver is injured, you may never survive. Of course, when we have conversations about the liver, you realize that for you to survive, you will need someone to donate a part of their liver to you. But how many people do that? And of course, the procedure is very expensive. So before we get into this, before we ruin the children's lives, schools have to be really very careful. I have more comments on WhatsApp. This person says, good morning to everyone. This is Nambo Biona from Fudu, Sironko. On the issue of food poisoning, I suggest that the government should try to check it again, because how come that only the students are the only ones who consume the food, not even the teachers nor the cooks? Pertinent question there.
That is why Sanko was saying
the
teachers have a different schedule, different meal plan from the students.
That's why most of us even wanted to be prefects, because
there was a privilege to eat.
Yes, I remember.
Yes. Yeah. And the truth is, as a child or as a student, you may not know so much about what food tastes how. You understand? Right now, if I took you to a restaurant, Olive, and we ate, you would be able to determine this food is lacking this. This could have been done like this. Could have been
has been overdone.
Thank you.
Yes.
But back then, you're just going to go pick a plate. You had to have things that add some flavor to your food.
Appeta.
Thank you. Peanut butter and everything.
Even canteens have, prepare cabbages these days. Have cabbages, eggplants.
For people to add to their food, to add some flavor.
Shillings normally.
Yes.
But also, speaking of canteens at schools, many students who don't want to eat the school food will eat from the canteen.
Yes.
But I've also realized that in some schools, the canteen will prepare certain snacks like samosas, like chapatis, mandazi. They're too oily, but also this oil has been reused several times. So when we talk about food safety in schools, we need to look at everything. Let's look at the stores where the schools keep the food for the students, but also the cooks. First of all, I remember the cooks in that private school I went to used to be very dirty. How can you be so dirty?
You never realize most of those things
until
you leave.
Yes, until you leave. And for those that had a chance, if you were a prefect, to enter the kitchen at a particular point to check if the food is ready or what's delaying, sometimes there would be delays, and you find this guy he's working on the posho, but he's sweating and the sweat is dripping in the posho. You understand? You look at the hands, you look at, he has just probably pushed the firewood inside, further inside of the fireplace, and then no washing hands, nothing, goes back to touching the tomatoes, or if at all there were tomatoes anyway. So, but you realize that those checks are not there. It's a matter of fix a meal, let them eat and go to class. Fix them. They're here to study, not to eat. That's actually what they would say. I don't know if some of you had strikes in schools because of food, but in some schools, especially in the western part of Uganda, I don't want to mention schools, we had those schools that were notoriously known for strikes.
Yes.
And you give them bad food, they're going to strike. But on some occasions, whenever they would have meetings, they would tell them, you came to study, not to eat.
How can you say yet food is part
one of the
and
most
parcel of
common
human
replies,
life?
by the way. And I think it even calls for accountability of everyone in school. There's also a very huge case scenario where most of the students are given punishments, and the punishments they are given is to go and clean the kitchens or wash the saucepans. Now, tell you what, in most cases, if you punish a student, they are likely not to do things willingly, or they will actually just do it as a by the way. How? Because if you tell a child to go and clean the saucepan, a saucepan which is going to be used, they'll just do it very fast, not even minding about whether it's clean or safe for the food that is actually going to be prepared in there. And after that is done, the cook will definitely just take on the saucepan, prepare the food in the same saucepan, whether it's clean or safe. It's none of their business. So
no
which shows you that
to
at times,
and see that the saucepan has been cleaned.
And there was also another big issue where most of the saucepans being used for beans in the long run are used for preparing porridge.
Wow.
So you get to realize, these are experiences from most of the schools and most of my colleagues that have actually been able to share. Right. At times to sit down and share your old school memories. It being given a Thursday, it's even,
for me,
spices up.
you're throwing back. For me, it's not even throwing back because I am a parent. I have children in school. And I remember when my son was in primary school, he was going to one of the best schools in this city. I'm not bragging. But what I'm trying to say is that he used to come home, like Sonko said earlier, looking malnourished. And I always asked him, what's up? Aren't you eating? And he used to say, Mommy, the food is bad. Now, this is a school, I'll tell you off air, this is a school where they gave us a timetable for meals. And I was like, here, my son is going to enjoy wapi. The food was bad. And how I can confirm that the food was bad is that now that he's in secondary school, in another school, I've seen a difference. He says, the food here is the best.
And
because you see the difference.
I'm trying to show you that primary, these kids don't understand or may not fully understand what good food is. Okay, they will tell you it doesn't taste good, but they will not go to the extremes of it had this, it had that.
Now my daughter who is in primary school lately has been coming home, and remember it's towards end of term, and he's been coming home and saying, Mommy, my stomach hurts. I'm like, why? The beans, they have things in them.
So you can tell.
You can see the difference.
Yes.
So school owners, and there is something that happened when we had just gotten out of COVID-19. Schools had stocked up food.
Yes.
And then we were out of school for over 2 years. And that same food was fed to the children. And remember, we had so many cases of children being sick, but we will touch on that after I read some more comments. This is from Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makindye Luwafu. He says, good morning, family. School owners need to be conscious and aware that they carry the responsibility of all pupils at their premises. At time, their focus is 99% on teaching and take their eyes off other things that are also very vital, like the welfare, security, proper accommodation of students. All those seem to be very minor for them, yet they speak volumes. Let Ministry of Education and Sports put much emphasis and inspect every starting or registering school, because now owners' eyes are on earning more money. I think that the Ministry of Education should not only check starting schools, it should check every single school. Yes. Whether it is high-end, actually it's the high-end ones that need to be checked. Because like Chantal said, they will have beautiful structures.
Yes.
Excellent performance. Now we need to go to the kitchen. we need to go to the kitchen to see, and the stores, we need to see how is the food kept. Because in some schools, they take grab. By grab, I mean the snacks children take, like milk, water, and other things that they take, and put them all together in a store. So the child just goes at a certain time, at least for my son's former school, and they pick something they want and they go to class. But how are these things being kept?
Right.
If we had a bet, I'm sure I might win, because those items are most likely on the floor.
I told you, realistically speaking, when you go to the stores of these schools, it's not even tiles, it's cement, as in cement. The most you'll find, if it's not concrete, it's going to be the polished floors. You know that maroon or red polish?
Yes. It's still
That's what
cement.
you're going to find. It's still cement. That's red cement, yeah?
Yeah.
Even canteens are having boxes and
everything placed all over the place.
Yes. So you realize that we need to get that checked. We need to know where are they keeping their food, and who are their suppliers of these dry foods especially.
Do they have the UNBS seal?
Are they certified? Yes. Are they certified? You might opt for, we are thinking about reducing costs. You might opt for reducing costs and getting a cheaper supplier, but are they giving you what you're supposed to be getting at that moment? Because at the end of the day, do you know that very many times these kids, especially in boarding school, they only report to you when they are extremely sick, and their sick bay cannot contain it. Some of us, the schools we went to, we had a well-structured sick bay. You enter in there, you can even be put on drips. Like all the medicine
with
is administered. At some point in my primary, I was in a boarding school. I fell sick from that. This was like in P4. I fell sick from the time I joined that school to the time I left.
You were always sick.
I was always sick, and at one point, they even took me to, my grandmother came, picked me, took me to hospital. And the doctor said, which medicine have you been taking? When he saw it, he was like, then if you had started taking this medicine, you are going to drop dead. Now, takes me back to the question of the nurse we had at school. What was she treating? What was she giving me? But then I always had medicine she was giving me. My stomach hurts, I'm sick, I have fever, and this happens to very many kids. And by the time the school closes and this kid is okay, they tell you, okay, in the middle of the time I felt sick, and they felt sick and they're okay, and that's it. And that's how life is, realistically speaking. That's how it is right now. The kid comes and says, oh, in the middle of the time I felt sick, but I'm okay now. And as a parent, you're thinking about, is the report good? Did I finish the school fees? Now I'm thinking about, oh, it's only 2 weeks until next term begins.
I need to find fees for the next term.
You're not going to think about what was actually the problem. So tell me, how were you feeling? What treatment were you given? How many parents have such conversations with their kids?
I have such conversations with my children, and so should you. But let's look at the general hygiene away from the food. Something happened after the COVID-19 lockdown. Children went back to school, and suddenly every school had sick children. When you went to children's clinics, they were always full. Children had what doctors now say, because when we were younger, we never had bacterial infections. But today, every time a child is sick, bacterial infection, viral infection. And the doctors normally say that this is because now they're in a community. Now, I understand young children will touch surfaces, will play in the mud and dirt and whatnot. But even away from that, earlier on, my colleagues talked about the hygiene, that no one goes to check the bathrooms. And I realized that for most schools, bathrooms are a problem. Bathrooms are dirty. The hygiene there is wanting. Do you know that famous smell of toilets in school?
The one where you would have to put off your shirt, enter inside, and then get out and dress up. If you dare enter, someone will know you were in the toilet.
I once had the worst experience with that, and thankfully my A-level, I was a desk scholar. So it helped me a couple of times. How? Because I never used the school latrines during that time. And I would only go for short call, because at least they were urinals. But then the entire time I never used them because I felt they were really unsafe for me. And like you've mentioned, in most schools, I think that the washrooms, latrines have led to these bacterial infections or viral infections that the doctors report. Because in most cases, you realize everyone goes to dispose of the
and they are dirty.
Exactly.
They
dispose of the low quality food they've taken. And at the same time, the latrines are not even clean or safe for them. So you realize it's just, a recycling process within that small community.
COVID-19 had taught us the art of washing hands.
Shall we talk about that those that have flushing toilets, those toilets do not flush, but there is like jerry cans that you have to use.
Pour water
and sometimes those tanks do not have the water that you're going to use to pour before you actually use that toilet. And the reason as why I bring it out like that is because many schools or many places try to regulate how much water is used when you are flushing.
Cost of business.
Yes. When you flush, some good liters of water are used.
Yes.
Now imagine you have thousands of students using the toilet, and every now and then there is someone walking in, walking out. So it's easier and safer in terms of cost. To limit. And then also, of course, sometimes the kids spoil the flushing toilets, the plugs and everything. So there is jerry cans that are put and tanks that are put, but sometimes they don't even have the water.
Okay, I will read some more comments.
Apparently.
I'll read some more comments from our contributors on social media, and this one says parents can't caution schools on anything since they are also pleading such that their kids can be left to study and pay fees after. Yeah, that is a problem.
So it's the
and this one says some schools don't have professional cooks, lack of school teachers to check the food eaten by students. And Petia Suleiman from Juba, South Sudan, thank you so much for joining us. He says, I want to inform you that our children are taking paracetamol dose daily in the beans they are eating at school. Schools add paracetamol tabs in the beans to get cooked faster than the normal hour. This is true, because some people even do it in their homesteads. I don't know how safe that is if you're going to put paracetamol, because it's a drug, and if you're going to it is one of the safest drugs even for pregnant women, but still if you overuse it, it can have adverse effects. This one is Phillips from Karamoja. He says, I have liked this discussion. How I wish what is pinpointed here can be implemented by the government. Government should prioritize in constructing standard stores in schools. School inspection is rarely done by government officers responsible. Hygiene is not a priority in schools. What do you expect of status of hygiene in these schools? Pit latrines, washrooms, and others. He says laissez-faire is kind of head teachers who mind of money but not welfare of students and teachers. And he adds that if things are difficult for central government, let them introduce regional school inspection stationed at regional headquarters to carry out regular school inspection. Thank you so much for your contribution. And Duga Hussein Kato, aka Prince K from Kawempe, says, thanks for the show. I think schools should bear an increment payment of cooks, better quality of storekeeping, as well as purchasing of quality products for students in schools. Good morning, UBC. Nduga Hussein from Kawempe. Yeah, he sent the message twice. And Jimmy from Obongi says, good morning, family. To me, the school teachers on duty should take the responsibility to test the food first before children are called. This is a good suggestion. It beats that that assertion. Not even an assertion, it is true. We saw it in our schools where teachers eat better food than the students. And I will end the comments with this one. He says, Assalamu alaikum. The government needs to employ competent HSE officers like me in each sector to improve the well-being of students and pupils. Too bad you didn't leave your name. But thank you so much for your contribution, and you are right. We need to have trained and professional people to come and inspect all these schools, and we have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of schools in this country. So we need the children to be safe, because there are many, and I understand the schools may be overwhelmed, but now if we have inspection done the right way, we will avert problems like food poisoning, because this was no one died this time, but you never know. Sometime we might risk losing lives, and that would be sad. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. This is Good Morning Uganda. We do this every morning from 6:30 in the morning to 9 a.m. Monday to Friday. We will take a short break and we will be back.
Upgrade your lifestyle with the all-new entry-loaded Chillax voice bundles. Now, call all networks in Uganda with Chillax voice bundles. Call all networks, no expiry, no worries. Dial *100 *1# and select call all networks. Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Previously, in most of these areas that we had prioritized, farmers would produce, but you don't access market because the roads are not there. So you have the middlemen that would have access, and they persevere to go into those deep in the villages, and they buy with their own prices. They'll go there and set prices for you, and yet you're the ones who are producing this food. But now this time with the market linkages, people can now access market, because we have bridges that were, streams that were bottlenecks to access by the farmers. It has constructed bridges, so farmers can now reach market.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Discover Uganda's digital transformation roadmap. The Ministry of ICT and National Guidance and United Nations Development Programme (UNDP) will unveil Uganda's first digital transformation roadmap on Thursday, 17th of August 2023 at 8 a.m. The roadmap will be launched by the Vice President of Uganda, Her Excellency Jessica Alupo. The Ministry of ICT and National Guidance developed the Digital Uganda Vision (DUV 2040) to guide the interventions for a digitally enabled society that is consistent with the transformed Ugandan society, from a peasant to a modern and prosperous country within 30 years. The roadmap will present an overarching vision for a well-connected Uganda that delivers on the opportunities, limits the risks, realists speculating how the vision can effectively be achieved.
Thanks for sticking around to UBC's Good Morning Uganda. We have 15 minutes to 8 o'clock, and it's time for us to have a look at what is making headlines from the print media perspective. That is across the East African region, as we start off from Kenya with the Daily Nation. And in our dailies from Kenya, the Daily Nation is reporting how cash was moved in a probe which is exposing money trail. That is in Kenya's Finland airlift saga bites Mandago. Then continuously with the Daily Nation, President William Ruto is warning on looting of public funds. That is another big concern in Kenya, as well as also the opposition leader, that is Raila Odinga, who is one of the key people pushing the government out, having what to say in regards to the same. Now, lawyers to snitch on clients with dirty cash. That is another report coming in here from the Daily Nation, that is in Kenya. And in politics, members of parliament seal of approval for Ruto and Raila talks. A detailed report in there. Then more pain as new tax proposal for state contracts has been aligned, and it's a report coming in with the Daily Nation in Kenya. And then party time, push for a 4-day public holiday weekends. Well, that is something that would have excited Ugandans more if it does happen here in Uganda. Now, away from that, we head to Tanzania with the Citizen newspaper, as the Tanzanian shilling hits all-time low against the dollar. And of course, more details reporting the same in regarding to the fact that the Tanzanian shillings against the dominant dollar is actually hitting an all-time low. Now, the East African Community boss says peace restoration in Eastern DRC is on course. And then furthermore, envoys to poor performance put on the spot. That is still in Tanzania. And then there is also a reason behind the great surge in intra-East African community trade. And in the sports edition, there's top female golfers are set to battle it out when it comes to the Ladies Open. That is in regards to golf in Tanzania. And then national contention. The government speaks on Sly's arrest amid huge concern. Now, back home in Uganda, we now turn our focus to the New Vision, as the New Vision is headline for today. Shows finance is responding to proposed NSSF Act amendment, as move has received blessing from the Attorney General. And then there is also a new curriculum for Senior 6, Senior 2 and Senior 2, that is Senior 2 Physics and Senior 2 Mathematics, as well as Senior 6 Entrepreneurship, still with the New Vision this morning. Then President Museveni meets solar investors. There's a pictorial at the front page of the New Vision, as Naro queried over 18 billion Ugandan shillings and the ghost staff within the organization. Then Teso elders have lauded the Mohozi visit. A more detailed report with the New Vision today. Then youth have failed to pay 129 billion government loans. There's a report of concern. Then from the other series of religion, the Pope's eyes and ears, as told from the horse's mouth, Kasuja. Then lastly, from local dailies, the Daily Monitor is President Museveni orders swamps drained of fishy investors. And also, following up on the issue to do with the potholes in Kampala, motorists left rather unimpressed with roadworks because most of them say it is not effective. Then in the other news, court puts an end to illegal eviction of Bibanja holders. And then the Daily Monitor also gives you more from the government failing to recover 130 billion youth funds. And then also there is a fate of ex-Mulago Hospital boss, which is hanging in balance. Well, Olive, there's an interesting one here.
Okay.
In relation to government failing to recover 130 billion of the youth funds, reported by both the Daily Monitor and the New Vision. You know, it's a very huge concern, because when it comes to the reason as to why most of the young people are failing out at business is because some of them believe that getting these loans to start up as initial capital is actually hard for them. And I think it's actually, being reviewed with this report or this finding, because at times the businesses don't even last for 2 years or even a year.
That's true.
So that means they cannot even pay back these loans that the government has provided to them.
They cannot, and I think the problem comes in from the get-go. It's one thing to give someone capital to start something, but it's another if they have done the research on the respective business and even know the tools they need to use to run a business. You'll find that most of the youth will just say, I want to sell phones. But they don't know how the phones business operates. They don't know the nitty-gritty of the phone business. And then you give them money, they go buy phones. Sometimes the suppliers are selling them fake phones. Then clients don't come back, because if you sell me a bad product or a fake product, then I can't come back. So you end up with no clients coming back to you with no referrals, and we know that businesses survive so much on referrals. But anyway, I'm hoping that the government can be able to recover some money, and of course that the youth may learn the nitty-gritty of business. But right about now, I will take you into the traffic updates this morning. But before we do that, I need you to know that the Traffic Police Directorate has issued a directive saying that there will be no more issuing or issuance of express tickets on the roads. So if you're found as a reckless driver or being indisciplined on the road, you'll be arrested and taken to court and charged and sentenced as soon as possible. Now, you want to know about that? Get the dailies and you will find the story there. Now, looking at the traffic this morning, we are going to take it up from the areas of Bukoto coming to the heart of the city. And we will start around Ntinda shopping, shortly after Ntinda Shopping Center, around Hillside Plaza Hotel. And yes, the traffic there is building up. So if you are coming from the areas of Ntinda heading to Chira Road, you're going to find traffic around the areas of Victory Church and Patio and Hillside Plaza Hotel. You're going to find orange zones building up there. There is Ntinda 2 Road which joins that road, so there is traffic coming that side of the road. There are many riders that are coming from that side of the road joining the main road, and of course around that area too there is the road that goes to Chiwatule and a feeder road that goes to Chiwatule, and some people use it to dodge traffic. So you're going to find some orange zones building up there because the traffic is building up. But now going up ahead around St. Andrews Bukoto, that is around traffic lights in Bukoto just after Kabira Country Club, you're going to find a little bit of traffic, but this is mainly at the traffic lights. After the traffic lights there is a smooth flow of traffic, because looking at Chira Road around Brown Flats and the police station, the road looks quite clear. If you're going to Lugogo bypass, the road is actually very clear. If you're going into the areas of Naguru, the road looks very clear. There is smooth flow of traffic, so you won't be held up. And now if you are turning off and going to the areas of Kamocha, yes, there is still a smooth flow of traffic. I see around the Uganda Museum, the traffic flow is pretty good. But then when you reach Chura Road roundabout, there you're going to find some bit of traffic around Arcadia Suits. That is the roundabout that brings you from Binaisa Road and Mulago joining Yusuf Lule Road, and of course the road that goes to Wandegea. Now, speaking of Binaisa Road, this morning I don't know what is happening, but from Gayaza Road up to Synagogue Church of Nations, past the Kubiri roundabout, into the roundabout that feeds into Yusuf Lule Road, there is intense traffic this morning. I see deep red zones indicating that the traffic there is intense, and you will be held up there for quite some time. And by being held up, you could be there for even 40 minutes, because it comes from Gayaza Road and it feeds into Kubiri, and then it comes up to Chira Road roundabout. So you need to negotiate your routes clearly. But now when we turn our attention to Yusuf Lole Road, there is some bit of traffic there. Some sections of Yusuf Lole Road have some traffic around the Uganda Golf Club. Yeah, there is traffic there. But again, the traffic eventually eases up, and then it is smooth flow of traffic around Garden City Shopping Mall. And when I have a look at Shimon Road, it also looks to have some bit of traffic, but then it eases up. And now if you are going through the Fairway roundabout, there is some orange zones indicating that the traffic flow is a bit smooth, but there are holdups here and there. So you need to put this into your mind if you're going to use this route. In case you're too much in a hurry, just know that you'll lose a bit of maybe 5 minutes on that section of the road. Now, when I look at Chadondo Road, there is a section that has pretty intense traffic. So if you're going that side of the road, there is somewhere where you may have to lose about 20 minutes of your time. But areas of Nakasero look good. So if you're going around Nakasero Hill Road, yes, there is smooth flow of traffic. You will not be held up. But now going back to Wandegea in the main trading center, you're going to realize that around the roundabout there is some traffic as cars are going to Bombo Road, others are going to Makere, Nankula, Biesa, Apolokagwa, that side. So from Bombo Road, yes, it is held up. There is traffic along there. There are many red zones I see along Bombo Road because that road is quite narrow, so it has many incoming and outgoing traffic. But I'm sure if you have planned your routes very well, and if you have left home in record time, you will be able to beat this morning's traffic. And of course, with this traffic update, you will be able to know which routes, diversion routes to use, so that you're not held up. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and you are still watching Good Morning Uganda.
Discover Uganda's digital transformation roadmap. The Ministry of ICT and National Guidance and United Nations Development Program (UNDP) will unveil Uganda's first digital transformation roadmap on Thursday, 17th of August 2023 at 8 a.m. The roadmap will be launched by the Vice President of Uganda, Her Excellency Jessica Alupo. The Ministry of ICT and National Guidance developed the Digital Uganda Vision (DUV 2040) to guide the interventions for a digitally enabled society that is consistent with a transformed Ugandan society, from a peasant to a modern and prosperous country within 30 years. The roadmap will present an overarching vision for a well-connected Uganda that delivers on the opportunities, limits the risks, realists speculating how the vision can effectively be achieved.
Introducing the Infinix Note 30 series in partnership with Airtel Uganda, a smartphone where style meets functionality. Take charge of the day with special features like the 108MP triple camera and 68 watts first charge, and the best part is you can use this phone to charge other phones. You also will enjoy free 3GB from Airtel every month for 3 months on each new device purchased. Dial *100#, select data and devices to get your free data. The Infinix Note 30 series Spark, a connection in partnership with Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Greatness is all around us. On pitches, fields, and playgrounds. At home and far away. It lives in the past, and it's in the faces we look up to, and in those we see every day. Greatness is all around us. It takes us beyond limitations, beyond possibility, beyond doubt, beyond expectations. The only question is, where will it take us next?
Discover Uganda's digital transformation roadmap. The Ministry of ICT and National Guidance and United Nations Development Program (UNDP) will unveil Uganda's first digital transformation roadmap on Thursday, 17th of August 2023 at 8 a.m. The roadmap will be launched by the Vice President of Uganda, Her Excellency Jessica Alupo. The Ministry of ICT and National Guidance developed the Digital Uganda Vision (DUV 2040) to guide the interventions for a digitally enabled society that is consistent with a transformed Ugandan society, from a peasant to a modern and prosperous country within 30 years. The roadmap will present an overarching vision for a well-connected Uganda that delivers on the opportunities, limits the risks, realists speculating how the vision can effectively be achieved.
Good morning and thank you for being with us on UBC TV. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. I'm Robert Chirabo and I'm delighted to have an interesting guest and I'm very sure about this. You'll also find this character very interesting and passionate when it comes to ensuring that Uganda is safe, when it comes to ensuring that there is good community relations between police and the public. Well, we are going to be discussing crime. There is a report that came out indicating that Uganda Police Force on July 22nd, 2023, released a report that shows crime rate in the country had increased by 20% in the past years. Now, we know we cannot have a totally crime-free society, but we can reduce crime. Now, joining me on set is the Commissioner, Community Policing, Uganda Police Force, Anatoli Muletera. You look very smart, Afande.
Don't divert me. Allow me first greet our viewers and listeners, because they are the bond why we are here. So when you begin praising me about being smart, that is the credit to the Inspector General of Police and the Uganda Police, because it's the one which provides uniform to me. However, our esteemed viewers and listeners, good morning. Happy being on the program, and once again I want to thank UBC TV for extending this invitation to me in particular and the Uganda Police Force in general. And to you, my host and my brother, Nyonyintono, for always reminding me, for always extending this, and for always being there for us in ensuring that you give us air, you give us a platform in which we can be able to extend and share very pertinent information with our esteemed listeners, viewers, and Ugandans at large. Good viewing.
Now, to begin with, when you talk about the Community Liaisons Office in Uganda Police Force, which you head, first and foremost, what does this office do?
It is a bridge, a bridging office. A bridging office in the sense that it extends its roles to the community by ensuring that we mobilize the community to work together with the police. What I needed to inform our listeners and viewers out there is that the Uganda Police Force was established here in Uganda in the 19th century, especially the late century there. Around 1899, that's when it was introduced here, but officially established here in 1906. Since then, we were operating a reactionary traditional force. One may ask, what is this reactionary? What is this traditional? We are referring to the office whose role was desktop, based on the desire to arrest, based on the interest to investigate, based on the issue of enforcing the law and prosecuting. Those are traits of reactionary. Those are traits because you wait for an incident to happen, especially crime, then you begin, in other words, fire brigading. But with, given that kind of scenario, first of all, by the way, Uganda celebrated a silver jubilee of its existence. That is the colonial rule in 1956. And one of it was to weigh in what the colonial government had done at that time. Part of it was assessing some of these institutions. But they realized that there were still gaps in the service delivery. And worst was the police because of the nature where people were being arrested without being informed. Even when they were arrested with information, they were not even sensitized about the whole thing. So it was all about the colonial rule against our traditional methods of work here in Africa and in Uganda in general. So this kind of operation, this kind of work of the Uganda Police Force at that time continued to cause a very wide gap in ensuring that the community and the police were not really working together, they were not trusting each other, they were not supporting each other. That's the reason why you could see policemen living in barracks, moving from police station to barracks, moving from police station back to barracks. There was no interaction, and therefore community support was very weak. So this continued to endanger a relationship. But remember, the police cannot stay without the community because we come from you, we must serve with you.
And you're the ones who give you information.
Very true. And on assessing, this is really what I want the community to know, that the reason for establishing community policing is that no amount of weaponry, nor the desire for our deployment of personnel, nor for the introduction of high-tech, and the issues of batons, the issues of handcuffs, can ever desire to fill the role of the community. Nothing. Because we have a live example, which I really need our viewers to know, that the NRM government came to power with only 5 guns. And only the patriots who started this were 27. Now, how come that they captured the power amidst the millions of Ugandans? It was on the basis of participation of the wananchi. So it is this kind of philosophy that we want to betrace our services on. Without you saying, here we want a lot of deployment, we can have deployment. Here we want a lot of guns, we can have those guns. But if those guns do not generate support from you, we cannot do much. Participation. Community policing is all about participatory role of the community, shared responsibility, desire to build a bridge and trust, desire to cooperate, desire to score solutions to problems together. By the way, did you know that one of the issues that really endanger the fight against crime is fear of crime? One may ask how. If by and the bloodstream of policing anywhere in the world is be traced on information. If there is no information, then the blood of policing is dead. And how can you get information when there is no relationship between you and the community? It's as good as not being there for them. 2, if at all the community can have information, but they fear to approach you, that is the fear of crime. Because there is that suspicion. They will say, if I go to Muleterwa, he's going to do this. Just simply because you fear the attire, you fear the guns I carry, you fear. So community policing comes out to demystify this.
Now, with that elaborate definition and throwing a picture to enable us understand what community policing is all about, I was looking at the recent report released that was on the 22nd of last month, and it was showing that over a time we've had continuous increase in crime. For example, a section of the report says in the latest series of the report that have been highlighted, the problem of crime in Uganda. In 2022, the police reported that crime rates had increased by 15%. In 2021, the police reported that crime rate had increased by 10%. Now, with this effective network of community policing, why do we see that continuously we have an increase in crime?
2 or 3 factors that we need to take on from the onset. Community policing is not reactionary. Community policing is all about proactiveness. And by being proactive, we are trying to seek for solutions from stakeholders, different stakeholders. But what we need to understand is that in looking at and solving a problem, I mean, in looking at and tackling crime, we need to look at number 1, the root causes. What are the root causes of that? One of the issues we are looking at is the issue of poverty, the issue of unemployment. And police alone, as an entity, as a key player in security, cannot handle or cannot tackle issues of poverty. Because a poor man will always get out of his house to look for what to fend on. Unemployed man will always yearn for what to eat. And at the end of it all, if he doesn't go through legal procedures, he will commit crime. And most especially, in the highlight of that report, you may realize that the largest percentage of those who are suspected to be suspects may be the youth. And you know the level.
And indeed, the report indicates that.
Yes, and you know the level of unemployment among the youth. 2 is the attitude of our own people, and especially among the youth. The youth, some of them lack the virtue of patience, the virtue of work, the virtue of trust. If you trusted a youth, maybe it's from, they value a lot of books, bookish environment. They are so much on the competition to read. But they are reading without understanding some of these things. Now you get one who has come from the university, you give him a job. He has no skills to apply on the job. At the end of the day, he fails to perform. 2, he earns to earn more than he can be able to contribute to the organization. You realize that for the youth, some of their mindset is that they believe that they cannot begin counting money from 1 shilling. They want to begin counting from 1 million, which is not the case. You can never ever get 1 million without starting from 1 shilling. And 1 shilling is earned out of work, out of patience, out of the desire to see, to eat, that you have a value addition. So these are some of the contributing factors. And another thing is role play. Role play, because you realize that the different key stakeholders are many in as far as crime is concerned. Not only crime, but because when we talk about crime is a standout a lot, but we look at problems. Community policing is all about problem solving and problem identification. Why? One problem like this can generate over 10 crimes. Let's look at an example of the issue of poverty. If somebody is poor, he will go to steal. If somebody is poor, he will go to waylay somebody. If somebody is poor, he will plan against you and kill you, simply because he feels. If somebody is poor, he will continue. By then, let me tell you, the biggest gap between communities is the suspicion amongst the different classes, where those whom we may say in this conversation regard as the have-nots have suspicion against those they have. A live example is when the former Inspector General of Police started the Muyenga model in Muyenga. One of the biggest problems was the gap, the economic gap amongst the people there. The community living in Kanyogoga and the one living at those living in Kanyogoga thought that they were more deprived, and those ones living in Muyenga were believed to be the ones eating the resources of those of Kanyogoga.
These guys at the tank hill, then
yes. So at all times, those of Kanyogoga planned for havoc against these ones, whatever. But when the Inspector General of Police sat down to initiate the Muyenga model and put down the two groups to sit, that openness caused solutions, and crime reduced from 100 to 12% at the time when he exited the police. So you realize that the magic answer is where partners, stakeholders come to set solutions for which all of us own them and begin working on them.
Now, initially you said that police cannot work in isolation, but also we know that criminal-minded people and factors that may make them vulnerable to committing crime may not cease anytime sooner. That's why we have the coercive forces of state, police being amongst them, where you have your role is to protect life and property, detect and prevent crime, among others. Now, what is police doing as far as curbing this increasing crime? We see today you're more facilitated, I must say. The numbers have increased much also as the population has, and they did not match according to world recommended, the 500 per one. But still one would wonder, are you really doing your best in the struggle to reduce crime in Uganda?
The answer is yes. Because if it was not that we're doing the best, you'd have not invited me. Two, I would have not had the courage to come and talk to you, because one of the issues is that I would fear. I would think there was that suspicion for you to track me. But the fact that we are doing and we are working within our mandate is that I have come here to justify what we are doing. But we need more, especially your cooperation. Now let me tell you, Robert and our viewers there, that the community policing per se is not a magic answer to crime or problems that solve, right, that affect crime. And that's why it is very ambiguous in its definition, it's very ambiguous in application, it's very ambiguous in its theoretical tenets. But the fact that through community policing we are able to inform the public about our mandate and their role, and that we need to work together. We need to appreciate that journey. But two, you have asked the mechanisms through which the police has adopted. We have three approaches to policing in Uganda. And our first line of policing is community policing. That is community mobilization, engaging, dialogue. And say, as police we have identified A, B, C, D. We need anyone who has solutions to this. Let me give you an example. The issue of land grabbing, the issue of poverty, the issue of unemployment. For us, we begin talking about them from the effects the causal effect of one of those problems, and of which we generate our debate to endear the community to work together with us. Because on the issue of land conflict, and say, because land conflict is around, we need the LOC, we need the land committees, we need the land board, we need the other JLOC institutions to work together with us in order to ensure that we bring that under control. Because if it is not handled early, crimes such as threatening violence, murder, malicious damage, assault, among others, will come up. And definitely the blame will be on us. So we need all of these stakeholders to come and work with us. So that is our first line of engagement. I mean of policing, community policing, through community mobilization. The second one is having public order management in place. That should there be a havoc, public management directorate, FFU, is on a standby. Especially the community has been engaged and they are aware.
Fanya fujo unit.
Fanya fujo one, then we bring those blue boys men. We are telling them, please, don't go and demonstrate. There is this. So the public order management comes in. That is our second line of policing. Our third line of policing is timely information gathering through our directorate of crime intelligence and investigation, crime investigations. All of that withstanding, our last line of operation, our last line of policing is operation. We have talked to you. We have brought in public order management. We have brought in intelligence to gather information of which is working right from the time of community mobilization. Now, the end of it all is, if you become obstinate, then we operate by arresting you and taking you to wherever you desire to go, maybe through even courts of law. So, all of these are approaches which the police has explored, and they are effective in doing what they are doing. Now, let me tell you, the existence of increased crime statistics does not signify the absence of police or absence of effective policing. You know, let me tell you, there are some people, you sin because you don't know that there is a law in charge?
No, definitely not.
Yes. Some people deliberately make a choice. They make a choice, and especially criminals. Some of them plan and know that, no, the way to go, since the police has done it and said this, for me, I'm going to do. Now, some of even the crimes are committed or no. Like the other time I talked to you, we have two forms of communities. We have the physical community, we have the virtual community. Virtual community, the community which is always on social media, on internet, on WhatsApp. They are there committing crime. And sometimes they are committing crime where we are not able to effectively monitor. So, there are many factors that may tend to result in increased crime, but nonetheless, the police force, through the different mechanisms, has set up measures in which to handle that. For example, I've talked about crime.
Now, looking at the measures you've talked about, one of the things that is very vital are issues of integrity and issues of trust. Day by day, we've had a number of complaints regarding the integrity of members or persons in uniform, that even sometimes it scares people to voluntarily give information of certain crimes. There's been also some concerns that police at times is more interested in political crimes than anything else. You go to communities and maybe when you tell them, let's inform police, they'll tell you, if you are telling them someone is planning a political demonstration, the entire night they will deploy here. But if you're going there to tell them of a case of theft or what, you know, so Afande, let's look at your brand as police in terms of building trust, in terms of being professional, because these will affect all the measures that you put in place. Why, if I'm not sure that I'm going to report a suspected maybe child trafficker, and he may end up knowing even, why would I then rather bother coming to police?
You've raised 4 pertinent issues. You have raised the issue of professionalism, the issue of integrity and trust, then
response.
The issue of response. Yes, and the increased fear. It is true, our esteemed listeners and viewers there, Rome was never built in one day. That is what the saying is. But secondly, you need to understand that police are human beings. They are human beings. That despite the level of training, that humanity in them sometimes may overpower the professionalism in them. Look at a scenario where Jesus Christ, the Son of God, Jesus Christ, to which I know many of you Christians all out there always want to talk about him. That he had the 2 personalities in him. He had the spiritual and he had the human. At one time, Jesus Christ, besides being a spiritual person, broke down and cried. 2, Jesus Christ, when he entered the temple, imagine, Son of God, when he entered the temple, he got a stick and chased away people from the temple with a stick. The question would be, why didn't he invoke his spiritual powers? It means that every human being, in any way, even when he knows what he or she has or has undergone a level of training, there is always that darker part of him or her. And therefore, this is what I want to call upon our viewers there. That when you are looking at an individual, don't judge him as an institution. Don't judge him. Many of you are working in institutions. You are never judged by your institutions, but rather you are judged by your individual whatever. Because what you need to understand is that the institution has values. The institution has codes of ethics for which all of us go through them. But again, we desire to, and like I've told you, you always go to church people go to mosque. You want to tell me that those whom were arrested are not Christians or Muslims? And every day, some pray 5 times a day. Others, every evening, they're in worship centers. So why don't you blame them for being so? But you blame them as individuals. So this is the thing. However, all that said and withstanding, these are the biggest challenges why really community policing comes in to fill the gap and call upon why. Please, we urge you, don't fear, open up and tell us. But you know, the fear among us people is twofold. One, it is natural. It is natural. We are all born fearful. That's why even the Baganda say, okwerinda sikuti ensana fetambule galudi. Ate, you never imagine that a dog, ntecheka ngo, techimanyi muzira. Embwa yadduka omukalo. But can you ever imagine that a dog can run away from it? But because, you know, sometimes we are not prepared, there is that invoked fear in you, and therefore. So, but what do we do in community policy? We come in really to demystify this. And really what I need to tell, especially our esteemed viewers, the fear in the public, I mean the fear of the police by the public, is a historical injustice, where many of us, when we were holding uniform at that time, desired really to cause a lot of fear. You know, when they saw you with a gun, with uniform, very ugly, very masculine, very what? by mere look at you, people thought, there is no
order automatically.
Hey. So partly people continue to have that kind of upset. And therefore said, but how can I approach such a man? This is Sobola. So this is the thing. But in community politics say, no, we are human beings. And therefore when I put on this uniform, we are doing it in trust of you. Yes, the other issue of trust, it is true, it's a very big gap, extremely big, which sometimes is brought as a result of individual police personnel, especially the journey in which we come from. There is no amount of training, no amount of professional code of conduct that we shall be able to teach these people that can ever change their humanity, their human being. You know, you get a person joining police at 18 years. Where was he before 18 years?
He was within the community.
He was within the community. He was a robber. He was a man who was terrorizing the community. But for you, because you have also that kind of misperception, you say, Chiganemo police. Now, a person
they expect the training to transform that person.
The training is done, and it is continuously done. But can it kill the person? Crime is committed from the mindset. The mindset comes from home. What if the father was a thief? The mother was a thief. The relatives were a thief. Now some of them, because they have grown up and maybe the community has talked about them, they have changed. Now they say, umwana wagundi alinga tatawe katika agende police. Are you doing really a fair decision to send a suspect to police? Police may not really go as far as Saul and Paul. Yes, but we do our best because the training is very rigorous, but crime is committed from the mind, and something imprint in you, especially the greed to make or to amass wealth, cannot say that even when you go for training, it will be erased in 1 or 2 days. No way. It will remain there as your attribute. There are things which make us very different from each other. The way we walk, the way we talk, the way we behave, the way we act, the way we reason. And part of these are attributes to crime. So, you cannot tell me that the police will force you to reason the way you are or to behave the way you want. No. Definitely, we shall always have a reminder to you, but a larger society all out there have equally a responsibility. Because, one, I am here representing my institution. Do I know the policemen who are staying in your LOC area? Do I know how they behave there?
It is us who know.
It is you who know. So when you desire to keep quiet and you desire to blame,
and
because
you become complacent because
yes,
you believe nothing much will change anyway.
Nothing. So fellow Ugandans all out there, if we are to build a formidable institution, let it be a combined effort and
now this is where I want to bring in what are the reporting channels or channels of complaining? I've seen a number of people when I'm at police stations for good reasons, and even when they get there, they don't know how to start the order. Two, we know that in police you have rank and file, and I've found that challenging because even much as you have the professional standards unit that is mandated to look at receive these complaints, find that an issue of rank and file. So how do we go about these things? Because it is different to say that we have this, that in place to ensure that we fight crime in our country. But if we do not have proper channels to go through and the public is aware of them, to curb such issues like fear, such issues of unprofessionalism and ethical conduct, we may end up that even with a good framework of community policing, it doesn't work out.
It is true And you know, let me tell you, Robert, we are interdependent and interconnected. You know, building of organizational systems are systems that are premised to the hierarchy in a family, the hierarchy in a society. In a family, when you go there, you find a head of a family. If he's alone, yes. If there are two, yes, that is a head. If there are more than that, is a head. Now what you need to understand, the same happens to police. If you go to an installation, say a police post, the immediate thing you need to find out is who is the head there. Some of you, just because of the other issue I've talked about on the issue of fear, you go there and find somebody. By mere looking at somebody, maybe the size. When I look at you, by your size, I begin now baptizing you. I found what's Zotia. You know, some of us want titles, even without finding out and saying, may I talk to the OC? But when you say, I found what's Zotia, yeah, you know, the biggest problem is some of these hangouts. We have so many people who come and hang around the police in the names of being informers and the like. And those are very exploitative. They are the ones who have sometimes misled the communities out there. I know Muleterwa. Muleterwa wants this. I know this one. Oh, that kind of. And immediately you assume that is the question. The first thing is, when you go to a police post or police station, can you ask for the head? And the head is one. If it is a police booth, we refer to him as in charge. If it is a police post, it is still an in charge. At a police station, it is OC station. Look for the OC station, for a station outside the main station. If you go to the main station, take an example of CPS, Ginger Road, Kra Road, name it, Katwe, name it. Go to the office of OC station. Go to the office of CLO. Go to the office of DPC. Go to the office of OCCID. Go to the office of CI. The good thing is that they have even labels. They have even marks, names. Why? For easy identification. Don't go and begin negotiating security or crime-related matter in the compound of a place. You find somebody, maybe you have ever seen him maybe running around, you say, Afane Nyamba, Nkumanyi. That is the kind of trend. Nkumanyi, everybody Nkumanyi will translate into extortion, into exploitation, into bad imaging of the police. So why are we doing this? We want to ensure that those who are victims to crime, those who are even friends, those who want to share with us any information, please open up and march to the office of the OC station. And if you don't know, ask. Enter police station, there is what we call a counter. A counter. And this is, you know, I don't want to talk as if really there are no issues with my police personnel. Some, especially those at the counter, some of you are rude. Some of you create an environment for exploitation. Somebody is asking you, please, I would like to see the OC. Omagazaji. The question is, Njagala Kulaba OC. So why do you say Omagazaji? This is a public place. I want to call upon you, police officers. Have that humanity in you. Have that courtesy. Have the care. If a person has not greeted you, extend the greeting. Say, good morning. May I help you? But Omagazaji, just because simply you look at such a person as an avenue for you to get money, that is wrong. Should we get that information, we shall therefore deal with you. 2, if you are to help that person, record the true information of what is telling you. 3, avoid recording information related to civil matters in our ACDs. When I talk about ACD, those are the stationary diary book at the counter. That's where we record incidences or complaints that are related to crime committed in the community there before they are referred to OCCID. That is the first entry. So sometimes we have a tendency, and I've received a complaint, that some of you at the counter mislead the public, especially by giving them references to crimes which are not even part and parcel of what is supposed to be managed by the police.
Civil.
Ona manja. Negamba akubanja kaleyagalaje. To take away it. So that
they try to find ways of alternating a civil case to make it criminal.
You alter the facts which this person is giving you to assume it is criminal. Yet the ingredients of it are the person is coming to report because he's demanding a balance. They made an agreement. He was paid something. Maybe the other person has delayed to give him money. The best you can do is to sit him down, tell him the next procedure. And what is the next procedure? If the amount of money is less than 2.5 million or 5 million, send him to the LOC. If the amount of money is more than 5 million but less than 10 million, send him to court, especially under small claims procedure. There is that provision in court called small claims procedure. Other than making it, what if it is more than that? Take him still to court, let him go to court. Tell him that there are court officials who are willing. First of all, when you go to court, does not mean that they will open the case and begin prosecuting.
But I think I found the way it all goes by, still relating to crime. Somehow police has either been misused deliberately or not. One, people have a belief, let me go to police, they come and arrest that person. And unfortunately, our police is so quick to arrest before doing investigations. One time I was with some senior police officer, and I challenged him and I said, let's go tomorrow morning, ask each of the people in our cells what offenses they committed. And at the end of the day, out of the 30 that were in the cell, he had to let about 15 go. Said, genda. There's a way the public has looked at, Omanja, you've done, even what we can solve, else is, because police has rendered itself available to do this. Let our police quarters today. Now, when it's Friday, you know, and even when you reach there, you find someone has been in the cells for a week, and you ask, well, how can someone be here? Not on a capital offense or anything. So that also is killing your image as police, being used to fight battles, being used. Bamukwate, bamuchime. Why do your men rush arrests? Funa reference to get to Mukwate. Funa yeza mafta to get to Mukwate. Why?
One, there is a standing order against premature arrest, and two, it is always a routine for all the DPCs and unit commanders in general to talk to their personnel and discourage the vice. But you see, let me tell you, sometimes it is an issue of pressure. Sometimes you, the media, come in to misguide crime and misrepresent facts on crime. Others, political instigations. If police does not take action, then it has eaten. If it has taken action, then it is overzealous. But three, we also have individual weaknesses of our own personnel, especially those who are at the counter. But it does not mean that those are acts that are institutionalized. Because one, there is a standing order warning every personnel against premature arrest and against taking bias when doing work. But two, role play, like I've said. Let me ask you, you know, the other day I was listening to some news on one of the media houses, and there was a report of somewhere where people were now saying, Fabelo siba fete bachatu yambira kodala okuja konga bakulabyeko n'olukumi. So what am I trying to say? Is that if all organizations which are entrusted in the adjudication of justice were doing their role, then we would have very little for the police to do. I want to inform you that 90% of the issues that come, 10% of the issues that come to police is what we are supposed to handle. But 90% is supposed to be handled by you. Small issues always generate bigger outcomes, especially big crimes. What do I mean? Somebody is demanding rent, children are not going to school, somebody is having a quarrel or a misunderstanding with the wife, somebody is having a misunderstanding with a neighbor. Those are looked at as small issues. But if not looked at in a holistic manner, they will turn into crime, which is rushed to the police. So that's why I said 90% of the issues are supposed to be handled by the community, and 10%, which sometimes aggravates into assuming that police is the master and the omega of all this. But I want to call upon you, please, our being there is to facilitate our coexistence and ensuring that we work for a better Uganda. Mother Uganda is all for us. Let's all have our role played to ensure that we live in a crime-free environment.
Well, I just want to thank you so much, Afande Anatoli Mletera, for your time and, of course, creating that awareness. While police is there for you and they are not against you. We need to cooperate if we are to reduce the increasing rate of crime in our country. Go to police, avail information, and we hope that also they'll take that information very confident and ensure they make timely reactions to that. Ruben is ready to take you through sports updates. See you in the next hour. Good morning.
Introducing the Infinix Note 30 series in partnership with Airtel Uganda, a smartphone where style meets functionality. Take charge of the day with special features like the 108MP triple camera and 68 watts first charge. And the best part is, you can use this phone to charge other phones. You also will enjoy free 3GB from Airtel